Hello students. So today in our paper Auditing Practice and Corporate Governance, we will learn about verification of assets. Let's start. Verification of assets is a process by which the auditors examine the accuracy of the assets appearing in the balance sheet. Now, mainly the verification of assets include the fixed assets and also the current assets, more importantly, the closing stock. What is a fixed asset? We all know it is an asset with a useful life of over 1 year, owned and used by a project to achieve its stated objectives. The examples are plant and machinery, property and equipments, computer furnitures, and etc. Now, whenever we are purchasing any asset, we are maintaining it or we are selling it, we have to maintain a fixed assets register. The same will be followed in the closing assets, means the stock for the stock too. It is a manual or computerized record of fixed assets. It contains every single details of every fixed assets. Its maker's name, its price, its model number, specification, the quantity, everything. And it will be maintained on a class basis. So there will be separate blocks of assets. It maybe depends on the rate of depreciation. It may be type. It may be departments. It may be depending on the specifications or model number or price. The entry in FAR should be made before payment is released to the supplier. So before getting the assets, we have to start maintaining the FAR for that asset. Any alteration of the FAR must be duly authorized either by the asset manager or by the chartered accountant of the company. While the FAR is maintained according to the class of assets, it is maintained according to the staff members who hold the asset too. It will record the date of issue and return. It will also be at the signatures of the employee when he receives the assets, and that of the storekeeper, the assets is returned. Now it's about the physical verification of fixed assets, which is conducted by an interdepartmental team, maybe by the internal control team. It should be undertaken under the supervision of an external or internal auditors for at least 1 year. And if it is that not possible, it may be continuous in process. The surprise checks to verify the existence, condition, and custody of the assets are very important. The physical balances will be compared with the book balances. So the people, the respected person, will see the physical verification and as well as he will tally it with the register or the FAR. The variances have to be adjusted to financial records after due authorization. Now it's about verification of plant and machinery. The auditor should vouch the purchase of a plant with the receipts and invoices. It should also be checked that all the expenditure on his account is a capital charge because it's a capital expenditure. If the plant is directed by the client only, then the auditor should check that allocations of plant has been made correctly or not. The auditor should check the schedule of the plant and machinery, which should be certified by the engineer. An auditor should also do the physical checking of the machinery if it is possible. The auditor is also should verify the sufficient amount of depreciation is provided for this asset or not. Now he should tally, remember, both the income tax set and the company set, that for which assets or for which plant and machinery, what is the rate of depreciation. The rate of depreciation will be depending on the blocks of the assets. It will be maintained accordingly in that fixed asset register. Now it's all about property and equipment. Use of plant and equipment is capital budget because of capital expenditure. Maintenance of a subsidiary ledger, a system of authorizations, physical inventories periodic verification, analysis of variance among budgeted expenditures, and a system of retirement authorization and documentation. So here capital budgeting for those fixed assets is very important. It's not like that we will buy a huge number of fixed assets and they will be unutilized. So that there will be this stagnancy of cash. So that is not good for a business. So you have to purchase it properly. Then the impairment of long-lived assets. The long-lived assets must be reviewed for impairment whenever events or changes in circumstances indicate that carrying value may not be recoverable. The state involves projecting furniture future cash flows. If impairment is indicated by cash flows, asset must be written down to the fair value, means at the time of sale. It may require the use of valuation specialist also. So impairment is a very important thing if it is a long-lived assets. Now, if you are confused, the impairment is a state of fact of being impaired, especially in a special facility of an assets. An impairment cost must be included under expenses when the book value of an asset exceeds the recoverable amount. The impairment of assets is the diminishing in quality, strength, amount, or value of an asset. Now it's all about valuation and disclosure. The auditor should satisfy himself that the fixed assets have been valued and disclosed in the financial statements according to the generally accepted basis of accounting, which are determined by law. Now, how he will audit the intangibles with the intangible assets? The assets which define useful lives are audited similar to the property, plant, and equipment. Assets with identified useful lives, assets with indefinite useful lives, means goodwill, must be tested for impairment. The auditor generally rely on the business valuation specialist to value goodwill for a test of impairment. So the impairment of goodwill is an important part of verification and valuation of assets. Now, if it's a patent, the auditor should check the patent register in order to verify that it has been properly included therein. He should also ensure that the legal life of the patent has not been expired, because we all know there is a legal fixed life for a patent. And the latest renewal certificate of the patent should also be verified by the auditor. If we don't have the renewal certificate, the patent will be abolished. If it is a trademark, he should examine the schedules and check that all these are certified by the responsible officer or not. If any agreements made, it should also be checked by the auditor. And he should also check the renewal fees have not been charged or not. For a copyright, it is the exclusive legal right to produce or reproduce some kind of literary work. At the time of verification of these intangible assets, the auditor should see that the value of the copyright is determined. It should be confirmed that the legal life of the copyright has not been expired. He should see the copyright having no commercial value has been written off. He should also ask the schedule from the client and examine thereof. So, apart from the goodwill, the patent, the copyright, and the trademark are almost same. They are the same kind of documents the auditor will check because of the period, the legal life, the fees, the commercial value, and the schedules. Hope you have understood the verification and valuation of the assets. Thank you.